And I guess with all the public knowledge that's out there these days, you could take a quick look at a business before you make the phone call and go, are they a growing business? Are they a dying business? What's their balance sheet look like? Because it's all available, right?
Yeah.
In the public domain. And then you can kind of go, wow, this company seems to be shrinking. And I suppose if it's shrinking, it would normally be down to sales, I guess, right?
Typically speaking, it's the fact that they may not be making enough margin, they're not making any profit, or their turnover is too small. And it's 9 times out of 10, you go into business knowing that you solve a problem for somebody. Either you had that initial problem and then you've created something that resolves that, or you know somebody that does have a problem that you found a solution for.
Okay, so I've got a question. So let's imagine you've got a business that you look at and they, to the outside world, they're actually doing a real good job. They're growing every year. Can you add value to those sort of businesses as well?
Yeah, because it's all around how much do you want to grow. So one of the things that I look at is accelerate your sales. And the reason for that is because you may be going along and you are generating sales, but you're not generating sales at the speed that you want. Typically, those are the ones where they have a sales team, they're looking to coach them around the efficiency side of the things that we spoke about earlier. And that's all around coaching. I use the GROW model, and that's all centered around what is the goal. Now, typically people will say you can't really start with the goal, but what you don't want to do is stifle the rest of the coaching session, because if you start with the reality, then people have a perception that the goal isn't achievable because they're not hitting that at the moment. So I always start with what is the goal? What are you looking to achieve? Then you move on to the reality, and that is where are you currently? So your goal is to get to 1 million. The reality is you're only at 500,000. That's a huge gap 9 times out of 10 when you're looking at it going, how am I going to achieve that? And then you go into the coaching around, okay, so what options do we have to at our exposure? That to me is where the framework really comes to light, because when you're coaching somebody through that and you're going, what are the options that you have? You can make more phone calls, you can do emails, there are a plethora of different options that you can go through. And then you pick the top 3 and you turn those into SMART goals. So everybody works with SMART goals. It's about being specific and measurable, achievable. And that's where the magic really happens around the efficiency levers.
Okay. And that's interesting because in our business, in not just the sales side of things, but on every part of our business, we always start with the end and go, right, okay, that's a massive thing that we got to do in the next year, 18 months.
Yeah.
But if I look at it and go, right, what's it look like in 2 segments, 6 months, and then quarterly, 3 months, then monthly, 12 little, and then weekly, and then it becomes like little nuggets that you need to get into the business over a period of 52 weeks.
You've hit the nail on the head there. It's very much a case of breaking that down into smaller sections so that you don't create that overwhelm and you don't know where to start. You don't know what the next step is. Whereas if you're breaking it into 3 different sections, 3 different actions that you need to take, and then the next month you review, okay, so what are the next things that I've done? Now I've achieved that. How else can I move that dial forward? And you keep doing that. And the beauty of that is, and people overlook this more often than not, as long as you're checking back in and ensuring that what you did in month 1 is you're still doing in month 12, there is a compound effect within that. So it just builds and builds and builds. And that's where the multiplier really kicks in, is when you've mastered those skills, they become a habit and you embed those within the team. And ultimately that compounds over the 12 months and over 2 years. And that's how you grow a business quickly in 3 months from a sales perspective.
So it's steady and constant wins the race, right?
Yeah.
None of this kind of dopamine stuff where people go, yeah, I've had a massive win. And it's quite interesting because I get people saying to me, I've had a massive win this week. And I go, no, you haven't. You was working on that 2 months ago.
Yeah.
And it's actually the consistency, right? Whilst you're working on that win, what's next? Because that win will come in. But if you want to have the win the week after and the week after and the week after that, you got to be doing that every week, not waiting for that quick big hit.
Exactly that. And I was working with a client the other day and they were going through famine and feast. So they'd have a really good month and then a really bad month. And when I went in, I did a mapping day with them. I went through it with them. And actually what I discovered was they were working on closing sales for a month or three weeks of the month. And then
they
weren't doing any prospecting
in the pipeline. Right.
Okay. There was no prospecting at the beginning because they were focused on closing the deals for that month. But because they were stopping and starting with the prospecting, there was no consistent flow of new business coming through. So yes, you would have a great month, but then the following month that would drop off a cliff and you'd have to start from scratch because you didn't put the legwork in
right
from the beginning throughout that month.
So I kind of equate that to like a sausage machine, and you got this great big hopper at the top, and you put the meat in the top, and then you churn it, and the sausages come out. So, and if you don't keep putting the sausage meat, the sausages come out for a little while because there's still a bit of meat in there.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden, nothing, because you actually haven't topped up from the top end, right?
Yeah, exactly that. And that's why they were on a roller coaster every month.
Yeah, well, that's not safe for any business, right?
Exactly.
Well, you keep mentioning threes. Is that like a cerebral thing? Like 3 different objectives, 3, yeah?
Yeah, definitely. For me, it's about keeping it simple. 3 is something that you can manage and you can measure. And it's a sales manager can manage it across a team, but also from a salesperson, they are able to just focus on what are the 3 things that I have to ensure that I do this week. So when my one-to-one comes up at the end of the month or my check-in, that's another thing we'll come back to is a check-in, because they're just as important. But yeah, it's about having easy, manageable expectations that they can actually digest, understand the why behind why you're asking them to do it. But 3 seems to be the number that is manageable, but will still move the needle sufficiently to get you the results that you want without creating that overwhelm.
Well, it works for our business because the 3 objectives I have for my sales team, for example, is activity, revenue, and new business. And it's like, and we really focus on those 3, and it gives them the chance. It's not overwhelming, because some people have got like, I've got 17 different objectives, and it's like they forget what they're doing, which is like actually going out and selling some stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, I've got to get 4 or 5 new businesses this month. I need to bring in my target, and I need to do my activity. I need to do my 12 visits a day, or if it's phone calls, 100 phone calls a day or whatever.
And you've got the perfect system. Everything that you've just said there was around effort and efficiency. It's about how much effort are they going out to see new people so that they're still driving that engine. But then what's the efficiency of that? So of those people that they've seen, how many are they actually getting as new sales on the back end? And that in itself is sales versus efficiency.
Yeah, you mentioned just earlier you was going to come back to check-ins, and you thought they were quite important. Why is that then?
Again, I've been to a number of clients recently where they've got the process all nailed down, but there's no check-in afterwards, which means that there's no accountability actually being created within the sales team. And check-ins are super important in whether they're morning check-ins where you're doing a daily stand-up and you're saying, right, you said you were going to do this yesterday. Have you done it? Yes, no. And if not, question them and objection handle as to why they're not doing it and what support you can give them to make sure that they do that the following day. That's a simple one to do, and it's a quick mover from where you are currently to where you want them to be, because you're creating that urgency, you're creating that accountability. And then when you're doing your one-to-ones and you're talking through stats and figures and things like that, you want to be checking in, but your check-in has to be around, are they doing the actions? It's no good having a check-in 3 weeks later or the following one-to-one a month later, because how do you know that they're doing the actions? You're delaying that process. So the sooner you do the check-in to make sure that they've understood it comprehensively, they know what the actions are, they know the reasons why, and they're actually implementing it, the sooner you can correct it if that's not the case, and support them if that's not the case, to ensure that they're also succeeding, because no salesperson wants to not succeed. So yeah, check-ins are ultra important.
I find that interesting because in past businesses that I work for, I'd said to somebody, could you phone this client because they need this and that, whatever it may be. So 3 days later, the client phones me up really, really angry. And so I went to the person and I said, did you phone that client? Yeah, I left a message. Oh, right. So you did a tick box. You actually went, oh yeah, I've done that. So that's done. No, it wasn't done. You left a message. You didn't follow up. Like you say, you didn't check in. You didn't actually take that to an end, to a resolution. You just ticked the box, which is not what it's about, right? Well, it's been great having a chat with you, and thanks for coming along. And I know you're really, really busy, so thanks for your time. Great to see you, Nathan.
Thank you very much, Rick.
Cheers.